Have you ever felt like you're juggling a few different versions of yourself online? Because if you have, you are definitely not alone. In this explainer, we're going to dive deep into the psychology of our digital selves, all those hidden forces that shape who we decide to be on screen.
So let's just get right to it. Think about your LinkedIn profile for a second. It's probably polished, professional, right? Now think about your TikTok. It's probably a little different. So why is that? Why do we present these completely different versions of ourselves on different platforms? That is the central mystery we are cracking open today. Well, the answer starts with this core concept from psychology called self-presentation. It sounds kind of academic, but it's really simple. It's just the process of managing how other people see us. And it's not about being fake. It's a fundamental human thing we all do, all the time. We do it at work, on a first date, and, you bet, all over social media. It's simply about how we want to be seen.
So how exactly do we manage these impressions online? Well, it turns out we have a few different, let's call them masks in our digital closet. Let's take a look at what researchers call our 3 digital selves.
So researchers have pretty much boiled it down to 3 main selves we show off. First up, you've got the real self. This is pretty close to who we actually are offline, sharing a casual hobby with friends, that kind of thing. Then there's the ideal self. This is your personal highlight reel, the big promotion, the perfect vacation photo. It's the person we want to be. And finally, you have the false self. This is a depiction of a life we don't actually have, like pretending you're a globe-trotting foodie when you mostly eat takeout at home.
Now, which of these selves do we choose to show the world? Well, the first clue isn't really found within us, but within the platforms themselves, because every single app has its own personality.
And this data is just fascinating. Researchers asked people why they use different platforms, and whoa, the answers could not be more different. Look at Facebook. It's super high on maintaining relationships. For LinkedIn, that's way down on the list. And then you see TikTok, which is all about entertainment, a goal that is practically non-existent for LinkedIn. So these platforms, they're not just apps. They're more like stages, each built for a very different kind of performance.
So the crucial point is this. The platform sets the stage. Facebook is for connection, so we tend to show our real self. LinkedIn is for promotion, so we naturally lean into our ideal self. And TikTok, that's all about entertainment, so it can be a wild mix of anything. The platform's purpose really does shape our performance.
But listen, the platform is only half the story. To really understand our digital selves, we got to look inward. We have to talk about the powerful role of the self-esteem factor.
This quote right here gets to the absolute heart of it. Our drive to manage how we're seen is all about the gap between the desired and current presentation of self. To put it simply, the bigger the difference between who you are and who you want to be, the more effort you're going to put into crafting that perfect online image.
And this leads to a key insight from something called social compensation theory. It basically suggests that people use the internet to make up for things they feel are missing in their real lives. And the research shows that the lower a person's self-esteem, the more likely they are to use social media to compensate, often by presenting that false self to try and bridge the gap between who they are and who they wish they were. Okay, so we've talked about how we present ourselves. But what happens when we're on the other side, just scrolling through everyone else's seemingly perfect lives? Well, this is where we all start playing the comparison game.
We're constantly making 2 kinds of comparisons, whether we realize it or not. There's upward comparison, where you compare yourself to someone you see as better off. Maybe they have a better job, a bigger house, whatever. And then there's downward comparison, where you compare yourself to someone you see as being worse off.
So basic logic would say that looking at people who are worse off than you, that should make you feel good, right? A little boost of, hey, at least I'm not doing that badly. But is it really that simple?
Well, this is where the research reveals a pretty fascinating twist. The emotional result of all this comparison, it's not nearly as straightforward as we might think.
And here's the bombshell. The emotional punch you get from social comparison isn't fixed. It actually doesn't matter if it's upward or downward. The effect it has on you depends entirely on the mindset you bring into it.
This study illustrates the point perfectly. Researchers looked at people who were already feeling pretty dissatisfied with their marriage. And for them, any comparison, whether it was to a happier-looking couple or a less happy one, it just made them feel worse. The key takeaway is, if you're already starting from a negative place, social comparison in pretty much any direction just reinforces those bad feelings.
So here is where it all comes together. Your level of self-esteem is the key. It's the variable that controls the whole equation.
It doesn't just influence how you present yourself, it also completely dictates how you react when you see what others are up to. With high self-esteem, seeing someone succeed can be genuinely inspiring. But with low self-esteem, that exact same post can feel like a personal failure.
Okay, let's bring all these pieces together. We have the platform, we have our self-esteem, and we have this comparison game. So how can we use all this knowledge to be a little more mindful? Let's talk about scrolling with intent.
It all connects in this kind of loop. First, your self-esteem influences which self you're most comfortable showing. Second, the platform's purpose nudges you toward one of those selves. And third, that same level of self-esteem determines whether your scrolling session leaves you feeling inspired or totally drained. It's all part of the same psychological cycle.
This brings us to a whole new way of thinking about what it means to be authentic online. Maybe true authenticity isn't about just posting your unfiltered, real self. Maybe it's more about understanding why you choose to perform a certain way on a certain platform, and just being at peace with that choice.
So, I'll leave you with this one question. The next time you open up an app and you start scrolling, just ask yourself, am I here seeking connection with other people, or am I just seeking comparison? The answer might change everything.